Hello, I'm Emma of Granola Gear, and I'm so excited to be back again with you today to do something a little different from a slightly different location. We're still going to be chatting about some things, but I did this last season. I thought it'd be fun to do again for this season. We're going to pull out my cold weather fall winter knits for the season. Last time I got down on the floor and we pulled them out from under my bed, but there's a lot more winter knits and they take up a lot more space. Fall winter knits. I don't know why I keep just saying winter, but I kind of pre-pulled them out and have them staged, and we're going to go through them. I thought it would be kind of fun, especially because I sort of left the ones that I don't think I'm going to wear this year. Not that like I don't wear a whole bunch of them, but there are some that like I made a long time ago, and I still want to keep them because they were early on in my knitting adventure. But I don't think I'm going to wear them regularly, so I'm just going to leave them be. This was kind of funny to like prep for because I thought that I was going to have too many. And I mean, that's a different number for everyone, a different definition, but I felt like I'm getting into another season. I know I'm going to knit a ton of stuff. Like, what if it's just too much? And I actually feel pretty good about what I have. And I know I'm going to rework a few things. So I'm sort of okay with how much I have, which was sort of a good realization. So I'm not feeling too nervous about the season as we go in. But yeah, so it's finally cold enough for us to do this. I'm so excited. I get to put away all my summer knits for the most part, and they take up a lot less space. So it'll be good to have those tucked away and these all out. But let's get into it. I'm just going to do a quick overview of each one and we'll see what I have. And at the end, I'll do the things that I've knit for my husband as well. I'm not including any commercially knit pieces. I do have a handful of nice things. And if you're interested in hearing about those and what kind of stuff I have and keep, just let me know and shoot me a comment and I will do something like that too. But let's get started. We'll start with one of the few crochet pieces that I have in my winter situation, and that is this crocheted granny square vest. I don't wear this all the time, but it's a fun piece to have. This is made from some kind of inexpensive acrylic, so that's why it doesn't get worn all the time, but it's holey, so it doesn't get too hot. I didn't follow any particular pattern for this. I just kind of figured it out as you do with this sort of thing, but it's cute. I love the different shades of blue. It's very fun. So that's a vest. Next we have one of my favorite pieces that I wear probably, it's one of my most worn pieces. And that is the Champagne cardigan by Petite Knit. This is knit in Knit Picks Andean silk, which is actually discontinued. I actually got like 10 balls of it at Goodwill for $1 each, which is amazing because it's like a wool silk alpaca blend and it's an amazing yarn. I love this yarn. It's so soft. It's so sturdy with the silk quantity in there. I ended up needing to buy one more ball online from Etsy, and it was a little pricey for that one ball, but considering I spent like $10 on the rest of the yarn, it was totally worth it. And I had these amazing buttons. I can't remember what they were from. I'm sure I got them at the thrift store or something, but they're like glass. They're beautiful. But the white, I don't usually knit things in white, but obviously this is so wearable and I wear it all winter over anything. And I would love to knit another one of these champagne cardigans. I think it's so like beautiful and simple and perfect to just throw over literally anything. Next piece we've got is another vest. I don't actually have many vests, but they were on top. And this is the Lulu Slipover by Petite Knit in, I don't know what yarn this was because I actually unraveled it from like an early piece of mine and knit it up into this. I don't love this color, but I like the piece. My one like regret for this was that I didn't make it quite long enough to really convey the style of her versions. I was just kind of tired of the knitting flat and I gave up at the end, but it's still cute. I've worn it a handful of times because this is like mostly acrylic. It doesn't really itch or anything when I wear it. And I know it's got a small wool content. I just don't know exactly what it is. This may not stay in my wardrobe forever. This may get passed on to someone, but I have it for now. I was considering knitting another one this year. We'll see what I have for yarn and how that works out. Next, we have something I knit at the end of the season. I will button up one or two buttons so it's easier to show you. This came out right at the end and I unraveled a thrifted sweater that was perfect for this. And I wore it as like so much right at the end of the winter last year. And I'm so excited to get to wear it again, like redoing all of these buttons. Also, buttons are so expensive at like the yarn store and anything, and it's kind of frustrating because otherwise you have to buy cheap buttons, and then cheap buttons don't look good. But this is, I believe, cardigan number 9 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. My yarn is probably a slightly larger gauge than hers is, but I still love it. It's this like amazing marled rainbow tweed. It's so funny. I actually, when I posted pictures of this, when I finished it, I can't remember her name, but the woman who designs My Favorite Things Knitwear pieces, she reached out to me and she's like, "What yarn is that? That's so pretty." I was like, "Actually, it's from a vintage like 100% wool sweater, so I'm sorry, but you won't be able to find it." So that was kind of fun, but the construction of this and like the beautiful way that the neckline and the shoulders are managed is just makes it such a great jacket sweater. And I'd once again totally knit this piece. It's gorgeous. I love it. I'm so excited to get to wear it again. It's like the perfect amount of oversized. It's such a good jacket sweater, and I'm really into making those. I didn't find good toggle buttons, but I'm okay with these ones. If I need another one, I'd maybe do the toggle buttons, but that kind of seems what people are on lately, the toggle buttons. And I have mixed feelings. Next, we have my first, well, I actually knit this one second, but the first that I'm showing you of my Monday sweaters by Petite Knit. And I didn't really think I'd ever knit this pattern, but then it just ended up being something that was really easy for me to adapt to whatever yarn I was using. It's a DK weight pattern. This version is knit up with a bunch of hand-dyed mini skeins that I got at the thrift store for pretty cheap, and a strand of Drops Kid Silk Mohair in the color Chalk, and I love it. It's so fun. It's so beautiful. I had all of these mini skeins, and I wanted to use them for like a sweater and something nice because I don't really get to work with yarn like this very often, and I had enough of them that I was like, I'll just figure out, I don't know, some color combination that works that I'll enjoy and knit it up into a sweater. And it worked out really well. It took me a while to figure out how to manage all the stripes so that they looked even because I was trying to use all of every single mini skein, and I realized eventually that like that just wasn't realistic, and I had to leave out a little bit because I would prefer the stripes being a little more even. So they're not totally like, you can see this stripe is a little bit smaller than the rest of them, but I just obviously that was one of the widest points of the yoke, so it just sort of was what it was. And then this little stripe of green, you can't even tell, is the darker green right here, but it blends into the brighter green, so it worked out. I love this piece. Also, this was towards the end of the season, so I'm excited to wear it again. I love that. It's such a perfect, like lightly oversized, but not super baggy or like in the way piece, and I really enjoy it. This next one is another vest, and that is the Lonely Leftovers vest by Wool and Beyond. Because I use like a slightly too small gauge yarn, this is kind of small for me, so I don't wear it very often. It's an acrylic with a little bit of wool. I think probably just Lion Brand Woolies for the gray portion, and then some kind of alpaca acrylic blend for the edges. It was just kind of a scrappy project, and I'd consider knitting this one again, but this was early on and I hadn't done I-cord as much, and it's so much I-cord in this, it was pretty killer. So maybe again in the future, possibly, but this was a lot on my hands and it took me a while with all the shaping, but it's a super cute piece and I definitely recommend. I think maybe she has a honeycomb version, and that one might have 2 ties. I feel like this would look more normal if it has 2 ties. Like I went to put it on today and my husband was like, "You look ridiculous," just in how I had it styled because of the big bow in the front, but that's okay. I'll stop for a second because I realize I haven't talked about what I'm wearing. And this is the My Favorite Things Knitwear vest number 2 spring edition. I don't really know why it's a spring edition. I guess it's lighter weight, but it's a DK weight. This is an unraveled brown kind of tweedy sweater yarn, and I really like this because it's loose, good to throw over a collared shirt or just any old long sleeve, and it gives a little bit more warmth like around the house, but it's not too hot. Big fan of this guy. We'll move on to what was my first, but I'm showing you second Monday sweater by Petite Knit. And this is made with an assortment of a whole bunch of thrifted yarns. and they were all like, I had like some Cascade 220 fingering. I had this alpaca that was supposed to be a lace weight, but ended up being heavier than that, so I didn't double it up as much as I expected. I had thrifted a whole bunch of Knit Picks, like lace weight yarns. Some that were 100% wool, some had a little alpaca. It was a whole conglomeration of all these random yarns. And this is honestly one of my favorite sweaters in the end. I think the stripes are so fun. The marling is so wacky, but all the colors are subdued enough that it doesn't feel too crazy. I'm holding between 2 and 4 strands in all of this, depending on the weight of each of the yarns. And it actually worked out a lot better than I thought. I had to frog it at one point because the alpaca yarn that was a lace weight was a little bit too heavy and dense for the rest of it. Held as many times as I did. So like up here, I didn't actually change that. This, I had it held thicker. So the collar is much thicker than like this Monday sweater, if you can tell. It's a little bit bigger, but I wasn't gonna go frog the entire thing because I was already down past the yoke. I just had to pull out some extra here. And so the rest of it is like, it's such an even, beautiful fabric, and it shockingly just works together so well. And I'm just amazed with how this turned out. And it really was like what made me feel good about what I do with like working with so many thrifted or unraveled sweaters. Like you can make anything, and it might be a little funky or non-traditional, but that doesn't mean it isn't like still a classic beautiful sweater. Like, is this ever going to get old? No, it's just marling and stripes and like some good colors. And I don't know, you can make it work. You can always make it work. Even if you only have one skein of something, there's always something you can do. But I love that piece. Next we have, this is an earlier on piece for me in general. Like I hadn't knit a piece this lightweight when I did. This is the Oslo sweater by Petite Knit. It's a little wrinkled right now. I have mixed feelings about this guy. This was my first time working with a strand of mohair, and it's held with an unraveled strand of cashmere from a sweater that I thrifted. And it's okay, but it's kind of bigger than I expected. And it's a really, really loose gauge. I think that's for a few reasons. It's probably because of the yarn that I used, and it's also just because I hadn't worked with mohair before, and I was sort of having a hard time getting it tighter. This isn't something I wear a ton. It's something I wear on occasion, but I also don't think it would be very realistic to unravel this. I think it would be a massive pain in the butt. So I'm probably gonna leave it and just get worn on occasion. And it's just an early piece, so that's okay. Got elastic in the neckline because it's pretty floppy, but you know, it's light. Like it's not super heavy, so it can still get worn. I just have to be in the mood to wear something like really oversized. Next we have, and like of course this is a lot of this is Petite Knit just because, you know, you learn to knit and you knit lots of Petite Knit pieces, and that's not a crime, but for the people that complain. Not to me, but just in general, you hear a lot of people complain about that, which if you know me, you know I think that's kind of silly. But next I have the Ingrid sweater by Petite Knit. This is knit in Drops Lima, so it's an alpaca wool blend. I can't remember what the color is, but it's this nice like maroony purple color. I knit this when I was living in Los Angeles, and I love it. I love it so much. I love this pattern. I love the fit. I love that it's a little long. I love that it's a little loose. I did the mock neck neckline, and if I knit another one, I might do the folded neckline, but not because I don't like this one, just because it would be nice to have one of each. I'd totally knit this again if I came across the right yarn for it. I love this guy. I think it'll probably get a decent amount of wear this winter too, because I feel like it's a good office piece, at least in like the solid color like this. It works with a lot of pants and that kind of thing. Next we have my Novice sweater by Petite Knit. Does this have shaping? I don't think this has shaping. Maybe it does. Maybe I added shaping. I don't think I did. This one is in an unraveled sweater yarn that was like a whole bunch of different things. It was a super ugly Y2K sweater before I knit it. It's kind of funny. I hadn't figured out how to make the armpit holes not happen as much when I knit this. So it's a circular yoke, no shaping. I did the twisted rib. I didn't make a mock neck. I wanted just a regular crew neck sweater. This didn't come with instructions on decreases for the sleeve, so I copied the decreases from, I think, I don't even remember, from another petite knit pattern that was like a similar gauge, and they worked out nice because I don't like big floppy sleeves. I did a little bit of a, where is it? A split hem at the bottom. I don't know, I wanted it to have like a casual loose bottom. I didn't want it tight at the bottom, especially with the twisted rib, and I like how it turned out. This is a good like sweatshirty piece for me, especially because this was originally a commercially knit sweater. It was, it had a little bit more, it might have had like viscose in it or something like that, or nylon. I think it was nylon with, I think it was something like wool, angora, and maybe a little bit of cashmere and the nylon. So it's pretty hard wearing. It's not too itchy. So I can wear this all day long and it doesn't irritate me at all, which is awesome. Next we have, this is inside out because I actually just wore it. I have been wearing it a ton. This is also one of my most worn pieces, I would say, especially in transitional seasons. So like right now, when I go into the office, it's not it's not cold out, or it hasn't been cold out, but once I sit and I'm not moving in the office for a while, I get chilly. So this is the April cardigan by Petite Knit, and this is knit in a unraveled cashmere, 100% cashmere yarn. It's kind of this like charcoal gray color that I adore, and it's the perfect piece for the office. Like, it keeps me just warm enough. It's not too heavy. I can take it on and off, and it's not a big deal. It's just light and wonderful and cozy, and I wear this all the time. Or like summertime weddings or whatever, when like it gets into the evening and it gets a little chillier, throw this on. Perfection. I adore this. I just knit another April cardigan, but it's not quite done. So that's in the works again. Next, we have a piece that is actually probably going to get frogged this season, but I'll show you it pre-frog. And this is my Sunday cardigan by Petite Knit. I really like the overall concept and design for this piece, but I think because it's earlier on in her designing career, it doesn't have as many of the like nice details that her pieces have now. I'm not a big fan of the collar. It's kind of floppy because it's just like folded down and sewn. It doesn't have shaping, and because of this motif, the shoulders don't stay on very well. I know some people say that about raglans and circular cardigans, but this one I would say is definitely a little worse for me. There's just no place for your shoulder. I mean, look at that. It's just flat. And the other thing is the button band is worked as you go, just with this rib stitch, and then you pretty much just make holes for the buttons to go in there, and it just doesn't look good. My buttons don't stay very well. The collar's not very nice. And I've worn this a handful of times, but I think it would just have a much better life as a different piece. So I think I'm going to frog this and knit it into another cardigan. And this, I don't think it took a ton of yarn, but I actually kept the leftover yarn, and I have that. So I have extra. So I should be able to knit another one with plenty of yarn. I just have to figure out what. I was thinking maybe the Esther jacket. I just have to do a gauge swatch and see if that's feasible with that yarn, because it's pretty heavyweight. This, by the way, is an unraveled sweater yarn. Again, 100% wool, like this nice sturdy but not too itchy wool. Big fan of that. It's very cozy. Next we have, I'm not going to remember what number sweater this was from My Favorite Things Knitwear, so I will put it on the screen. But it's the textured one. This, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it because it's black and tweedy. This was unraveled from a thrifted sweater, 100% wool, tweedy bits. This is cute. I made mine kind of cropped. The bumpies were, I'd never knit this again. Knitting the like pearl rows and all that was so annoying. I like how it turned out, but this is definitely a much more rustic yarn. So it's a little bit hard to wear sometimes. It's still really warm. I still enjoy it. Like, it's simple and basic and black. It just doesn't get a huge amount of wear. But yeah, that's a pretty pattern, and I like the jacket version too, but just knitting that pattern, the texture pattern, was not fun. We're getting to the end. This one was like, I think my first color work. attempt, and that's the Lumi sweater by Sari Nordland. I got a yarn gift card for my birthday last year, and this was my yarn purchase. It's Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock, whatever their worsted is, in, I think this is Lilac Sky and just their basic white. I love this. I love the yarn. Oh, it's such a beautiful yarn. It's really expensive. If it wasn't so expensive, I'd knit with it a lot more. I love this pink color. It's so pretty. It's like a pinky lilac. I enjoy it a lot. I just think this is a gorgeous sweater. It's a little tight on me maybe, but not in a bad way. It's just not as loose. But I love this piece. It's so pretty. I love this guy. I can't wait to wear it again. So much fun. I love really floral motifs. I'm really excited to knit the Alpine Bloom sweater this winter, hopefully. The last sweater for me is my Moby sweater by Petite Knit. This is knit in Drops Alaska in the color Fog. This was such a nightmare for me because like I messed up somewhere in the yoke at the beginning and ended up doing these crazy short rows at the bottom to make it like all even in the right length. But it turned out great in the end. You can't even tell like the horrors that I went through to get it here. But I love this piece. It's a super great classic sweater. I would not knit this pattern again just because I'm so tired of it. You'll see why in a second. But I really enjoy it. It's a nice heavyweight sweater. It's great for like real winter time and throwing it on to like go outside and not feel super chilly without a jacket. But that is all for my knits for me. And I'll show you the two pieces that I knit for my husband. I did also do a bunch of other gift knitting last year, but I don't have those pieces with me. Ugh. So first we have the reason why I'm so sick of the Moby sweater pattern. My husband's Moby sweater. I actually need to shorten the sleeves for him because they were a little bit too long. He usually folds it and he doesn't mind it folded, but I'd like to make them shorter for him. I don't know if I'd like totally, I don't know, I'd probably just shorten the ribbing as a whole because it's so long. I don't really think I need to take back the pattern and then change the ribbing all the way down, especially because that's like all the decreases. I don't want to make the sleeve bigger. This is also knit in Drops Alaska in like an olive color. I don't remember the name. He loves this. It fits him really well. I love this. I just got so tired of it because it was so big and it took me forever to finish. But we have cute matching sweaters, and that's what matters. I really need to depill all of these because I did them, the ones that I had already knit, I did them at the beginning of the season last year. So it's time again. This other sweater, I gotta find the front, that I knit for him is the Halibut sweater by Boylan Knitworks. And he loves this. I love this. It's knit in Drops Lima in, I can't remember what the colors were, but I really like this blue. It's such a good blue that's dark but not navy, because some of the navies that you get are really bright, and this one's a lot more it's a lot more of a gray blue, which may have even been the name. I really love this piece. He loves this piece. Everyone I show this piece thinks it's the most amazing thing ever. I want to probably knit myself the Halibut cowl this year. Maybe I'll knit myself a fish. He calls it his fish sweater. Maybe I'll knit myself a fish sweater if we're feeling crazy. Probably not because I've got other things in the pipeline. But that's all I've got for my fall and winter knits. My big old pile over here. It feels like a lot now that I have it on the bed and I'm looking at it. But honestly, like in the fall and winter, once it gets cold enough, I found myself wearing these every single day. Like I was wearing a knit every single day. I used to wear fleeces all the time, like synthetic fleeces. That was kind of my thing. I have a million Patagonia fleeces, and this sort of became the substitute in the last year, and I'm really excited to wear them all again. I'm really excited for the new pieces I'm going to make this season. I'm really excited to do more cardigans and more vests, which is definitely like what I have less of. So that'll be really fun and cool to wear some more things. I need to come up with what I'm going to knit for my husband this year. I think I want to knit him like just a basic sweater. I just have to find a good pattern. So if you have any suggestions for men's patterns that are more plain and preferably like in at least a DK, if not like a worsted, so it doesn't take me an eternity, drop those in the comments. I'd really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, I'd love a like or a subscribe. It really means the world to me. I put out a podcast every other week talking about what I'm working on, and I've already started the cold weather stuff. So Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great day and happy knitting.